it's game 1 in the best of 5, right? It's a bit too early to get doom and gloom. Not a great start, but this is where we'll see if they can bounce back. I think ultimately, 3 jungle bans, jungle first pick, and to give over Maokai Jace, not the best plan we have seen.
Honestly, I think that if there are no jungle bans, T1 still picks Maokai.
Probably, yeah.
So, if this is Poppy Vi Maokai, or if they first pick Maokai, then it's fine.
These are all valid things. Okay, well, they banned the Nocturne, so that means this might well be a Maokai first pick coming out from D+.
Unless they do exactly the same thing again. Okay, never mind. They're just going to do the same thing again. So, one pivot they can make if T1 decide to go with, Jace Zaya again, which, we're running it back, guys. It's just a straight run back. It could be Kai'Sa Maokai. And then, Oner does have to dig into his bag of tricks. But instead, it's just there's some
Whoa! Wait, T1 picked Maokai on 3?
Whoa!
I never expected that to happen. Well, I'm perplexed, shocked, amazed by this concept.
Can we check to see?
We just run it.
Is this a rerun?
Yeah, this might be a replay.
Okay, there's the adaptation.
Oh, that's
finally
something new. Okay, it was a replay. Yeah, sorry, we got a bit confused there. It looked like it was the exact same draft as last game.
Yeah.
Which is weird considering our comments about it. T1 have changed nothing. They have literally, they prep for game 1 and they're like, they're going to use the same homework again. It's like at school when you submit an essay and then you get some new homework and you just put the same one in, maybe tweak the title, and apparently it's still valid.
Lazy teacher, not changing the syllabus at all.
Yep.
As Rel and Na were the bans last time around, now it's Rel and Alistair.
That was the problem.
Yeah,
right?
because Zeus looked completely uncomfortable on the Aatrox. It's a weird situation here. We'll see whether D+, with their stubbornness, it is going to bite them, or whether it is going to be a success, as the Renekton is going to be considered. Now, if Canna decides that he wants to go towards the Rumble, they will have not very much physical damage if
They'll
draft...
have even less.
Yeah, if draft is going to be considered the same. So, the Fiora consideration. This is a Renekton, so it's not quite the same. As there is Azir once again.
What's even funny?
Basically the same draft.
It's not just the fact that they pick Azir, but they hovered Fiora again into the Azir pick. It's like they're going through the exact same mode. Like, it's mind-blowing. And then they pick K'Sante, which, if you're picking the Sejuani, I feel like you want to go into that top jungle with confidence and pick, like, something that can really benefit from the passive. But instead in this situation, we're getting the K'Sante, which has been more of a neutralizer, generally speaking, in the lanes we've had. So,
and doesn't do damage. And so they're going to run into the same problem once again, where they've got full magic.
Well, it's even more severe because they don't have a Renekton.
Yeah. Braum is going to be the lock-in, though, into this Kai'Sa Rakan lane.
Yeah.
A little bit more on the defensive ebb.
It's a weird one because typically you don't see Braum into Rakan much.
Yeah,
Rakan
that's
is a Braum counter because it's very hard to stack up the passive on him because he's so mobile. But it's clearly in line with the theme that T1 went from game 1 and here, is that they are playing this defensive comp. It's going to be hard for D+ to approach to get on top of them. I feel like without the Renekton, the Renekton's role was to get on top of the backline in this game. So I think they might just play a bit more around Def's poke, but the condition here is I feel like Def and Showmaker need to be super strong this game. I think if D+ fall behind, make any missteps, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to push in when they don't have the Renekton on top of that to be someone who can find those flank angles. So, this could very quickly turn into a 2-0 for T1 with 0 adaptations really from D+ other than the Alistair ban. And it would feel rough.
It would, and it also feels even more rough to make barely any adjustments and then run it back and still lose. I think that does even more mental damage after a loss like that. And so then winning game 3 becomes even more difficult. It does feel a little bit like a Hail Mary, because if D+ managed to get it together in this game, yes, they equalize the series, but it's only then that they get to see something else from T1 and get to counteract a different game plan. This is a very similar draft, although Keria has a little bit less agency, and we'll see whether D+ Kia can play around it or not. All right, I don't need to worry about which side of Lore Park I'm on to understand that the T1 cheers were a little bit louder. Feeling pretty good are the fans after the victory in game number 1. And let's see whether, you know, Deft has to flash at level 1 or anything like that is going to happen again.
Oh, no. I've seen the adaptation. This, you know, it wasn't in the draft at all. Take a look at Deft's summoner spells.
He just decided that he needed cleanse.
He was like, you know what? Playing against a champion with a point-and-click route as a normal ability and a big AoE ult that covers the entire river, not too fun without cleanse.
I mean, the support was changed to Braum, who does have a stun, and now the top laner is Renekton. So instead of a bunch of knockups, there's now a bunch of other stuff, as Faker is going to dive forward. Has to flash, as the Grand Entrance is going to lock down Keria. They do manage to get the passive proc, because of course Braum pretty good level 1. But still, I think that is a decent trade here for D+.
The lesson is someone is being flash level 1 at the start of the game.
And we're trading between teams each time, and so Faker going to draw the short straw in game number 2.
It's a good omen for D+, you know, because T1 obviously burnt Death Splash, and then they won, so maybe there's something going on there.
Yeah. Whoever burns Flash earlier loses. And so I guess it's decided, maybe pack it up.
Yeah, 100% rate, sample size, out of 1.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all the sample size that I require.
That's enough.
To call this, yeah.
Keria and Gumayusi should have the level 2 advantage and could potentially look for something, but Faker not having a fun time in this matchup.
Whoa, that's a flash forward from Keria. Okay. The grand exit comes through there from Kellen, and not quite that much follow-up here from Gumayusi. So
actually, pretty fantastic from Kellen to block the Q. If that had hit Deft, I definitely would have been cleansed at least as a result. So the fact that Kellen blocked it and was able to obviously disengage a lot easier as the Rakan is the difference maker. But looks like we're getting that painted engage Braum in this game.
It's something that Keria has had mixed success with, and most of the mix has been on the negative side, unfortunately. Showmaker, can he? Yes, he can.
To be fair, that was when Faker was subbed out, so maybe Faker's there to say, like, do it the same but better.
If you do watch Faker play, he's barely watching his own lane. So, you know, wouldn't surprise me. As Cannon misses a cannon. We're going to get the zoom in. Jonas Strong. He just does not tolerate you missing a cannon. He will zoom. It's just
Faker already banning TP here to get back in lane after some rough trades. So right now, Showmaker just wants to play quite aggressive, trade health as much as possible, and then he can reset TP back in and have a massive advantage in the lane.
I'm kind of hoping that we see Showmaker go for a little bit more of an aggressive build as well. I think that the Crown did get a fair bit of value in the last game, but if they can allow Showmaker to have more upfront damage in these fights, it will be pretty important. Yeah, and Leandri's would help them do Baron a little bit faster as well.
Yeah, especially when you have such a tanky front line, and Deft is overstepping here.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's going to have to flash, and there is the passive. Deft is going to be taken down. Oner tanking the turret, and he is just fine. Perfect. First gank here is Canyon. He's going to try his hand at taking down Faker. He doesn't have flash, but he does have a bit of a head start as he moves towards the brush. And he will be able to get in here. It's the ward over the wall, and Faker is still going to get knocked up by the Arctic Assault. Still so close. Just barely going to be able to keep himself alive is Faker.
Some risky pathing, considering he had no flash, but Deft just, you know, if you look at how things panned out in this mid lane gank, Canyon was on the top side of the map. He had Scuttle taken. He actually had a ward on Oner's Raptors as well. You must have known, right, that Oner was on the bottom side of the map, and yet Deft, like, steps up at the most random time. Cleanse of Flash, not going to save you from that. And the fact that the initial CC was the route from the Xayah really tells you everything you need to know about that setup. Like, you know, if Oner had Flash W'd him, I would have been a bit more understanding. But to get caught out by the route into the Braum passive, into the, you know, all that, it's just a big misplay from Deft. And his game 1 wasn't too sharp either. Considering he's had a pretty solid series, a lot of people putting him in the All-Pro. Like here, he should know Oner's bot side, and he walks up, he makes the aggressive play.
And there's just definitely not going to be enough damage phase rush as well to get Oner out to safety, so it doesn't tank too many turret shots. Everything going to be A-OK. You can see Deft down about 9 CS now, and Gumayusi was a huge problem in game number 1 for D+ to deal with. He sort of just casually farmed at over 10 CS a minute throughout the majority of the game. And that may just continue here. Showmaker does take a shock blast as Faker is dove forward. Does have his flashback available once again as there's the Flash Emperor's Divide, and Faker, he's not going to press his flash button just yet. We'll see whether he does manage to make his way out, and he does. And it looks like D+ is just going to let him go.
Yeah, and you know, if it'd been a little bit longer, a little bit later that Faker's flash was being level 1, then maybe we could have seen that play working out. But he gets to summon it back, and it was a little bit sloppy. The execution from D+, Canyon not able to stack up the passive, felt like he didn't expect when Showmaker went for the ult. And as a result, it's just a trade of flashes. There is still a big advantage for Showmaker in the mid lane, but Faker managing to survive what could have been a pretty rough situation.
Yeah, it's not really feeling like the same mid-jungle duo that we've seen in past years here between Canyon and Showmaker, but still, you can see that the CS advantage, massive. Things like that. There are other things that they were able to get out of that situation. And once again, Faker's flash is now on cooldown as T1 standing on top of a ward, but they're still zoning Deft and Kellen away from this minion wave. And Oner back down towards the bottom side. This time, Deft is going to respect it. Canyon going to join in as well. We'll see whether Showmaker does manage to get this plate. Going for it for the moment. Faker in a little bit of trouble, but Oner standing on top of Vision. I don't think he will be contested, though, for this Dragon, although now going to move away from it, and Canyon is in the vicinity. Yeah, that's spotted by the sapling. More of them comes down, and that is the army of Oner that's going to be triggered here by Canyon. It's going to move on in, and spots that something is afoot. Okay, there's the flash forward from Kellen. Gumayusi going to cleanse now. Glacial Prison comes down. Keria just standing next to Gumayusi. Permafrost is in. Does manage to stun up this Xayah as Keria looking for even more because they have a tree on the way. It might have been a little bit much though as Deft is going to have to cleanse. The root is not going to be there. And there is the hit back onto Kellen. So 3 versus 3, some low health bars on both sides. As Canyon dashes forward, Killer Instinct comes down. Keria is going to protect them for so long. But Deft is going to go down in the end. Kellen and Canyon getting the other 2. So a positive trade for D+, I guess.
But still felt so down to the wire. Gumayusi's flash just came up now. Keria nearly saving that play with the shield. Such a close one, and we see the flash W. This play felt very weird. You know that Keria is going to block it, and you also know that Gumayusi has cleansed, and yet they still go for the play. It very nearly backfires here when Oner comes in, but Deft has 6, and Canyon's like, we're going for this play, and look how clutch Keria's shield is. Nearly actually saves the play for T1.
Yeah, the flash forward and immediately stands next to Gumayusi and puts up the door. Mitigates so much here.
Honestly, that could have been a 3 for 0 if he wasn't so quick with the shield there. Ultimately, it's still favorable for D+, but not as much so. They're going to take the Dragon on this one. Hextech Dragon early. Pretty nice when you have both a Kai'Sa and an Azir. But the Herald going top lane, and we see that T1 have moved their bot lane up top for that Herald. And can just make the play with it and go for an aggressive turret. In return, Deft is going to try and take some plates here, but you're not going to push nearly as fast.
Yeah, he's actually going to decide to go for a reset here as well, as Kellen's moving on over, does spot Oner out doing the enemy blue buff. Showmaker continuing to retain control of this lane as Kellen moving on in to protect his top lane. Canna was on a bit of an island before, isn't behind by too much, as of course in the K'Sante matchup into Renekton, it is kind of wishy-washy, but generally Renekton is ahead at this stage, and then, you know, you're just pretty
K'Sante gets tanky,
K'Sante things.
He's just that guy, strong, tanky, can ult people away. Yeah, well, D+ will match T1's bot lane, but we actually see that Gumayusi's going to reset and head down towards bot, so this little switch back and forth has resulted in Zeus picking up a plate, and it kind of just feels like D+ are being dragged around the map, just following T1. And this is kind of the thing that happens when one side has the Herald. You kind of have to respect that. If you let them get a numbers advantage, they will win out with the Herald. And as a result, D+ are just chasing them.
Yeah, Deft actually going to cancel the back. Looks for a potential plate here. As the Renekton is moving back, they see that The Xayah shows on vision, so Deft realizes that there should be an opportunity to get a little bit of extra money. So he is there in order to consume the plate. So that is decent. Showmaker still having control of this mid lane, and this is the one saving grace here for D+, is the fact that Showmaker so far has just been winning out on all of these trades. That the Q auto combos to come through onto Faker have been pretty dangerous. But still, Rift Herald now going to come down. Kellen, the only one really in the area. There is a killer instinct on Deft, but he's not going to be able to get anywhere near in range in time. And so Gumayusi, a bit of extra money. Oner as well, lining the pockets.
That's what they're fishing for. That's what they're trying to do with these swaps around the map, is find an easy opportunity to get some gold injected onto Gumayusi, and they managed to meet their objective there, get a bit of an advantage. Obviously, junglers both having a fair bit of gold thanks to those 2 kills, but I feel like Oner having an early demonic, definitely a big difference maker.
Yeah, and we do have the cull cashed in as, okay, Glacial Prison is going to go wide. The knockup comes through from Kellen, though, as Keria wondering where he wants to put the door and decides that Deft is going to be the option. Still, Deft, oh, he does find it. Killer Instinct not going to be opted into. Knew that it was going to be his life for the enemy support. Probably not worthwhile. Moves back down towards this bottom lane. Keria going to be able to go back home.
And a nice attempt, I've got to say, from D+, but Keria very solid with the movement, able to dodge away from that ultimate from Kanya, making all the difference.
Cathian Rain doing a little bit more than that one turret shot did, so wins out on that trade does Deft.
In the 1v1 now with the Shiv, it's pretty painful for Gumayusi because you're never going to have Prio, you're permanently going to be under your tower, and Deft can really just poke you out. So leaving it in this isolated 1v1, not ideal. Next Dragon's an Infernal as well, so expect teams to be putting some resources over there. We can already see that D+ have a pretty fantastic spread of vision in the river.
Yeah, Faker just decided that, no, I prefer it if Showmaker wasn't.
Oh, he actually broke the crown as well.
Huh.
Showmaker recalled, bought the crown for it to break as a result.
Huh. Didn't know you could buy a broken crown. As it turns out, you can.
Probably get a refund on that one.
Yeah.
I just bought this and it's broken, and Boris is like, nope. When I sold you it, it was fine.
Exactly. I'd have a conversation with Boris about that one though, because of course Showmaker must have bought that thing extraordinarily quickly. Sometimes you shake it around in the box a little bit, and then maybe it's the delivery company's fault. I don't know.
You have to blame on the delivery company.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Boris is actually there though. You know, in the shop. So
yeah, you bought it from in the shop, and then you blame the delivery company.
Yeah,
and he's like, I handed it to you personally.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes you just blame and you probably shouldn't. Still, Showmaker does repair it himself, which he's probably frustrated about. Zeus gets himself a plate. And the Renekton is winning by a decent margin now. Actually, much larger than it was before. Might explain the 400 gold advantage that T1 does have. That as well as First Blood sort of playing into that.
Yeah, I think he's been like the main beneficiary of these swaps around the map. He was getting a lot of alone time to pick up waves. In a pretty good position, and expect to see a very different Renekton this game compared to last. We do see some plates being picked up though for D+.
Yeah, they get one mid. Will they be able to get another one here in this bottom lane? As there is a teleport ward, and immediately the teleport comes down. Faker wanting to lock down Deft. Voidseeker is going to connect there as he uses Faker as a taxi out. The Nature's Grasp is going to find Deft, but he's now too far away. As Canna looking for Zeus, does manage to knock him back a few times. As D+, they're going to look for the Crocodile first. A few Qs going to connect, a few slows going to land. T1, they form the Phalanx. They are now on this Dragon. Taking a fair bit of damage. You can see Deft now without the ultimate. He does have Flash to get over that wall if he'd like to, but not going to be doing that. He's going to need that for the future as the Dragon just gets interested in Canyon, and Canyon presses Smite.
And I think you just take that if you're D+, despite the fact that the...
Explain yourself.
Oh my, you know, I wasn't even...
You were focusing on the fight, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's on me.
Man.
I'm in playoffs as well.
Yeah.
This is actually really bad for D+, because their advantage they have in the early game is the 2 dragons, and now they get scammed because...
Well, Alan is going to quickness and dive forward, does manage to trade it here for Gumayusi's Featherstorm. Probably good news, also gets the cleanse. But having to use Flash doesn't feel all that fantastic, even if you do have all of the mobility that the Rakan does have. Now if Deft does sink his teeth in, could be something that he could work with, but Keria is going to be in the area. This turret is extraordinarily low, so I have a feeling that Deft might just need to get out of there. There's the flash. And so Canyon's now going to move in, and Keria, he could be in trouble. Does still have flash available, but there's the permanent frost. And now Gumayusi is up against the wall and just taken down. That is two swift ones there in trade for Deft's flash and cleanse. As Kellen getting underneath this turret. Faker is relatively low. Zeus is here though, and he's very capable of diving this one. Oner going to turn up as well. So outer turret in trade for the 2 kills in the bottom lane, and they also were able to take the outer turret. And so I would say, kind of working out all right, although T1 do lose their bottom outer. So I guess, in the end, kind of okay for D+ in that one.
Yeah, I think...
Oh, unless this Rift Herald goes down as well.
It just keeps going on.
Yeah.
It's like, will they take mid T1? No, that's not happening. Okay, that's the end of the trades. I think ultimately, D+ obviously going to benefit from the extra gold, but I think T1 taking down that mid tier 1 is definitely a big factor. Yeah, Keria blocks the Shiv so he can't kill the wave, and then Deft. I mean, I guess part of it was he's baiting, but definitely don't feel like he would have had to burn the flash there. But here, double TP, just a death sentence for Gumayusi and Keria. Bit too over-aggressive trying to force that kill.
Yeah, maybe you didn't need double TP. Maybe there could have been a Showmaker in the mid lane to try and defend, but I don't know whether he would have been able to with both Zeus and Faker, and then Oner turning up pretty much immediately afterwards. This also, just to confirm, it is 3 points in Q and now 3 points in E on the Braum. Hopefully he maxes the E and then goes straight to that W. You know what I'm saying? That would be, it would be glorious if we were to see it. Keria absolutely learning some of his previous errors of build choice.
I'm so glad we're seeing the transition towards it. You know,
and do you know what? On. And you reward him with a Chemtech soul. My God.
I'm a terrible person.
I just, you know, I think there is room for improvement there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to say terrible.
So actually, I would say he has been rewarded with a Chemtech soul because D+ are the one with 2 dragons.
That is true.
They were banking on getting a good soul, and then they get scammed out of it.
All right, Gumayusi is going to press Featherstorm, but is it actually going to be enough? He decides that a flash is not going to save him, and I think he might be right as Faker is teleported in. Deft taking a fair bit of damage from that shock blast, as he may have overextended. The ulti is going to connect, but only onto Canyon, who will be A-OK. Battle Dance gets Kellen well and truly out of there, and so D+, they get towards their turrets, and Showmaker's here on the top side. This is working out way better this time around. Maybe D+ just needed to wake up a little bit. I'm not entirely sure. But so far, so good as we head towards the later mid-game.
Such an overforce there, I feel like, from T1. You know, they obviously committed the TP, and they're like, okay, we have to make something happen. And meanwhile, we have both the solo laners of D+ just taking waves. Showmaker gets a tower, and it's like, okay, you lose out in mid because Gumayusi dies, but then you lose out even more because you're trying to chase down these kills that there was never really any hope of them happening. W lands from Deft. Kellen just standing on top of him knows no cleanse means it's a guaranteed kill there. And then this shock blast from Faker is good, but it just feels like they're trying to force something here when there's nothing really to gain. The fact that the Maokai and the Renekton are so far away.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit like some of the mistakes that D+ were making in the last game, which feels like doubling down on already a bad situation, and you know not cutting your losses.
After that, you triple down.
Yeah, right. We did see a little bit of that with the return
Baron?
to Barons, things like that. Yeah.
And then we saw that with the draft as well, when D+ are like, nope, quadruple down. Hey, and it's actually kind of working.
There was only one thing wrong with the last draft, and that was Alistair.
Yeah.
And so they banned that second round, nailed it. Absolutely perfect.
Everything.
I think I want to echo what Chronicler said on the space, which is that things were just kind of fine in the draft. It's the gameplay that can let the team down. I do think it's a bit of an oversight banning all these junglers and one of them not being Maokai. Oner has almost relied on Maokai in a lot of their victories recently, and they have been prioritizing it extraordinarily high.
Yeah.
But I also could be something worth looking at.
One of the good things they did was picking Kai'Sa. 2 Kai'Sa games in a row.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. You can also see, just in case you're unsure, you're like, whoa, do the teams think that Chemtech Soul is really useless? Well, notice how T1 just seemed to completely ignore the fact that D+ got a free dragon.
Yeah.
They don't care.
No, because you know what I mean. Oh, okay, there's a Glacial Prison going to be traded for Gumayusi's Featherstorm. Means that any potential fights upcoming going to be a little bit dangerous. And what I was going to say before is a Chemtech Soul is like, we're guaranteed to have Elder fights.
Yeah.
Or flips in this game. Because, yeah, like you say, no one really minds about the Soul. Being a little bit extra tenacious is kind of fun. I imagine Deft is double upset because he's now like, well, if I'm going to be that, like, if I'm going to have that much tenacity, then, you know, why do I have this silly cleanse?
Yeah, you get
I could have my heal back.
You'll get some big Rakan Qs with the healing and shielding power.
Yeah, right?
And also, if there's a situation where Deft is at 49% HP, his W's will really hit.
True. There you go.
Maybe he should let Gromp hit him down to 49% and then start poking. The extra damage.
He should actually. He shouldn't go the Rage Blade. It should be Rift Maker so that he can get more healing from that as well.
But then he gets too much health and he doesn't get the extra damage.
Oh no! So you can't actually heal. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, Rage Blade it is. Maybe.
Oh, it's counterintuitive because Def will be like, whoa, look how much damage my W's doing, and then Kellen will hit a Q and heal and be like, no.
Yeah.
No, I was doing. Why would you do that to me?
It is a bit off theme, isn't it, with itself?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Anyway, 3 minutes until the fourth dragon of the game is going to be coming up. As right now, D+ are just going to jump on top of the Baron. Controller does go over, so T1 get full information as to what's going on. Deft going to be moving in here as, yeah, they are doing it again. Teleport going to come through from T1. Let's see how this one goes. As Shock Blast connects onto Deft, and now they have to vacate. It is a decent ultimate there from Canyon, but he's still going to get pushed around. The ulti comes through. Faker even hit by the Baron, as that's an incredible ult to come through from Kellen, keeping himself alive as well. Kanna taking some shock blasts. And these Void Seekers do need to land. They want to keep T1 out of this area. D+, oh man, you are making me so nervous.
This is very tense, and it kind of worked. I'm not sure it was the best game plan, but it worked. So that probably means D+ are going to keep doing this for the rest of the series.
I mean, testing a team by starting a Baron, that's fine. But, like, then teetering on the edge of just throwing the game.
Like here, like Deft gets chunked out, you know, and it looks kind of bad. But he does just basically solo out Faker, and then Oner gets obliterated. And then, you know, it goes fine. It goes okay. It works out. But then they're like, hey, let's do the Baron still. And it's just a bit too much, okay?
Yeah. I believe there was a quickness third Q layering between Kanna and Kellen as well in that last little interaction. And it looked pretty nice. I think Kellen kind of saving it there just a little bit for his teammates. But okay. D+, they tested the waters, and it was cold, and they decided not to go in, although they were almost, you know, knee-deep.
I feel like they're testing the water by, like, jumping in with a belly flop.
Yeah.
Right? Or a cannonball. Like,
and then like, it's cold, and then they swim out.
Yeah. And then they do it again.
They can.
And they're like, it's still cold. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just cold.
Yeah. It does remind me of, you know, the pirate level of Banjo-Kazooie. The one where if you ever go in the ocean, the shark comes up.
Yeah.
And he'll just come at you. And you can be in the ocean for a little bit. But if you're in there for more than like 15 seconds, you're eaten by a shark. And you're like, you knew that you were going to be eaten by that shark.
Yeah. It's not something new.
It just feels really bad when it does happen. Yeah.
Yeah. You're really playing with fire.
Yep. Yeah, I would say. We're not in this game. We're playing with Chemtech. We're playing with blast cones. And Keria is going to look for a bit of a Winter's Bite. Does find it there. And Canyon trying to get some irremovable vision. Does secure it.
And I will say, the thing is, because D+ are ahead, T1 haven't really had a chance to grab too much magic resist. Everyone has Merc Treads apart from Gumayusi, but if you look at the items from D+, this is so much AP damage on this team. Not a lot of physical, so if D+ make a mistake, if they give some gold over to T1, it is going to feel really bad. They need to be very precise with how they play these next fights out.
Ooh, crown broken here by Faker. Surgical in the way he got that one through there. Try and deny. Still, that one will be up relatively soon. There is going to be a fight for this soul. It looks like T1 in position to try and defend it. And the more damage Gumayusi takes, the more difficult it's going to be for T1 at the beginning of these ones. As teleports come forward, Deft will take a shock blast. It's a trade of poke here for both teams.
Oh my.
Okay,
It's over.
has to go home.
Yep.
Well, it's not over. I mean, D+ are just going to force an earlier Elder. Yeah.
But yeah, it's if this was any other soul, that would feel really bad.
Yeah.
You want to like, well, that's not great, not terrible.
No. Not the end of the world. Still, they are going to go for a reset, and D+ now with their soul, they can move towards a Baron pit if they would like to. Somewhat dangerous. There is a stopwatch for both Deft and Showmaker. Could be very, very valuable as Canyon waiting in the wings for anyone to come and try and take this. As there is the Glacial Prison. Gumayusi going to cleanse and Featherstorm. And now a Baron could be attempted, and they could look for a little bit of a turn. Still, Glacial Prison is a big one as, oh yeah.
This is why I don't like the Xayah into the Kai'Sa.
I mean, Deft also hasn't been back for, I think, like 7 minutes.
Yeah, he's going to be full build.
Yeah.
He does need some mana, so I'd expect a recall soon, but he's just going to clear up this wave with the Shiv. Maybe about to get full Ginsu's. And T1 are like, you know what? Starting Baron sounds pretty fun, because Deft has no mana and hasn't recalled. He has a lot of gold on him.
And it is in full vision of D+, but what are they going to be able to actually do about it is there's the flash out from Canyon. Kellen looking for an angle. Voidseeker connects. The Baron is going to be secured by T1. They may lose Zeus, but maybe that'll be worth it. Oh, Gumayusi caught in the back of the pit, does have to flash. The Crocodile takes a while to go down. Deft uses the last remnants of his mana to do so. And so, Croc for Baron. I guess you take that as T1.
Absolutely, and they just get away with murder on this. D+ just kind of fallen asleep at the wheel there. Deft was holding his recall for such a long time, so greedy, and it meant that he had no mana in this situation. They didn't have the pressure mid, and as a result, T1 get complete control of the Baron area. This shouldn't be happening when you're this, like you're that behind in terms of map pressure. It just feels like a freebie.
Yeah, and when they had so much control that they'd earned, honestly, from great play, pushing Gumayusi out of there, landing the right skill shots, and then to have it all kind of removed on a silly error, it's not really what you want to see. Deft wasn't actually able to complete the Ginsu's either, unfortunately, and so maybe he was just greeding for a little bit of that extra money so he could have a cleaner recall. Still, does have his stopwatch still there. Gets a level up also, level 15. Soon going to have at max rank Killer Instinct.
And Gumayusi's an entire level behind. He just hit 14. And that's with the extra experience from Baron and the fact he has a CS lead. So definitely still in a deficit mid, quite far behind as well. The gold difference has just been erratic though over the course.
Oh yeah. And look at this like control ward path that can be walked for D+. Towards a Baron pit that is now empty. This feels a little bit bad. Still, the Baron power play is moving towards the negatives relatively fast. So in a game where you don't have very much control, a Baron is mainly used defensively. You can see Zeus, he's going to respawn, but with Showmaker and Canyon in this area, they are going to guarantee that they will move it into negative numbers here towards the top side of the map. How did that land? What? That's a bit unfair.
Yeah, those minions really not doing their job properly.
They were not interested. As, okay, Glacial Prison going to come down, and Zeus says, all right, I'll press my ultimate, you press yours. Showmaker is going to be able to avoid the Nature's Grasp, and Canyon with Frost Armor and Aftershock is just not going to take very much. He's got Randuins as well, my goodness. Doesn't take a lot of damage.
Very tanky against the AD threats. You know, the Demonic will chip him down gradually, but the Maokai is not exactly pumping big numbers. It's very much like the heavy AP D+ against the heavy AD T1. And speaking of that, look at the items that come out from Faker and Gumayusi. Both of them picking up more of Malmortia's third. This is kind of what I was talking about. If D+ made the mistake, giving over the Baron, it allows T1 to not only have finished the core items, but then invest in that magic resist. Because the Oner is starting to pick up a Force of Nature. Zeus has got a null magic mantle. He's working towards some more MR. So at this point, T1 are going to become harder and harder to kill.
Yeah. Deft can just start building some damage items of the physical variety if you would like to. You go full mix damage on the Kai'Sa, but it doesn't feel very good. I think you are going to generally go with the Kraken Slayer build if that is what's going to happen. Getting all of the evolutions and all that sort of stuff sorted out is kind of all right, but indexing into one stat is generally the better way to do it based on how the math works for max DPS.
Yeah.
Maybe when there's too much magic resist, it will be something worth considering. 1.5 minutes until we have the Elder Drake on the map. Orcs and last time around, T1, they got themselves a soul. It was an ocean. It was pretty good. especially with poke compositions on both sides, basically. A little bit more team fight here for DK, I guess, but if you've got a... it's more of a kite back poke here for T1, whereas it's a bit more like team fight front to back poke for D+.
And I think it's going to be really important who gets set up on the objective first, who's able to land their poke. Both Faker and Death will be doing pretty significant damage at this point, so need to make sure you're getting that down initially. And if you allow T1 into the river, if you allow them control there, it's going to be really rough for D+ from that position, so I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Blighting Jewel picked up for Death, but no full Void Staff, obviously respecting the MR that's been stacked up by the opponent, and T1 actually managed to push their way into the river now.
Yeah, both teams pretty fresh off backs. It means that the fact that this gold is entirely tied up is only going to be separated by the extra stats from 4 Drakes and this Chemtech Soul. It's not exactly massive. Will mean that they'll be doing more damage the lower they go. I think for Cassante, Chemtech Soul kind of feels all right if you go all out.
Pretty good for him.
That's kind of dope. But T1 are going to move towards this Elder Drake and forego mid control. Might be a bit of a Hail Mary as Kellen looks for that flank angle. Mega Cone is going to push him and Zeus further out. As, all right, the Void Seeker comes out. Shock Blast is going to land onto Deft though. Poke War being won by Faker.
If Kellen's there, he can Q the Elder for heals, but he's nowhere near.
He is, and now can get behind as the Nature's Grasp comes in. They line up behind Canyon as Zeus going to be moving in. He gets spotted by Kellen, who's going to quickness. Can he actually get into the backline? He does! Gumayusi going to get locked down, but he does Featherstorm. There's the flash, but they get into the backline, and just some Cassante things as the Emperor's Divide is going to push away the Croc. Massive damage, actually, as the Gore Drinker does a bunch of work, and Oner is going to take an Elder after losing the team fight. Okay. Still, now the Cassante is going to dive on top of him, and I don't know whether that very much Elder value is coming in, as D+ get a clean ace after giving over the Elder.
Elder for Nexus trade, we see it again. Never a good trade. Ultimately, T1, we see a phenomenal flank there from Kellen, able to shut out Gumayusi, able to take him down, get him low enough that the follow-up's there. And that is enough to claim the fight. They don't get the Elder, but it doesn't matter when you get the game. Keria cannot defend this solo.
Yeah, and D+, they will even out the series. It's just the best of 3.